Another team has popped up with interest in first baseman Willson Contreras, and it's a familiar name that the Cardinals just can't stop doing business with.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafron, a former national radio sports anchor, born and raised in St. Louis and a lifetime Cardinals fan. And I am your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Welcome into another episode. Big thank you to all the everydayers for being here with us this entire time. For those of you who are new, welcome in. Happy holidays. Hope you enjoy the content. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving you all the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Today's show, did the Cardinals screw up Ivan Herrera's development as a catcher? Signs point to, yeah, maybe that happened. Chaim Bloom had some thoughts on that. We'll look at the reliever market. Some pretty good names remain out there that I think the Cardinals should be looking at. But we start with the latest rumors about first baseman Willson Contreras, whose name continues to be brought up around the league since the Pete Alonso deal went down in Baltimore. He got introduced today to the Baltimore audience. Got to put on the uniform. Looks weird, I'll admit, because I'm used to him in a Mets uniform. But yesterday, it was the Mets. They were interested in Willson Contreras. Today, stop me if you've heard this before, it's the Boston Red Sox interested in a member of the St. Louis Cardinals. Yeah, that's right. According to reports, our friends from Beantown are reaching out once again about bringing over another member of the Cardinals to the Sox. Now, this time the news comes from Chris Cotillo, who covers the Sox for MassLive.com. He writes that Boston remains engaged with free agent Alex Bregman, a source said, and is involved in trade talks with Arizona on Ketel Marte as well as Houston on Isaac Paredes. The Red Sox are one of many teams interested in Cardinals second baseman Brendan Donovan, but St. Louis still might hold on to him. And a new name has also surfaced for the Red Sox, who, according to a source, are pursuing Donovan's teammate Willson Contreras in trade talks. The three-time All-Star played first base, 120 games instead of catching last year, and is thought to be available with 2 years, $41 million, and a 2028 club option remaining on his deal. He has a full no-trade clause, but might be willing to waive it for the right fit. He went on to say that the Red Sox don't feel like they need a resolution for Bregman's camp before pouncing on another hitter, and to that end, continue to try to move the ball down the field on other talks. As of Friday, they, along with many other clubs, remained engaged with Arizona on Marte, but nothing was close. One source described the talks to this point as exploratory. Fans, myself included, are starting to get a little bit impatient, aren't we? I'm starting to get a little impatient. You know why? Because that is the world we live in, and we expect things to happen super fast all the time, just like your internet, your phone, anything, instant gratification. That's what we want, right? So we're starting to get a little impatient with all of this stuff because we want to know who the heck is going to be on this Cardinals team when spring training rolls around in a couple of months. We expected movement at the winter meetings, didn't get it. And I'm fully prepared for things to remain like this for quite a bit longer because there are a lot of challenges out there before teams are going to get around to making a deal for anybody on the Cardinals roster. As much as we would like to get things moving, the players that the Cardinals have and are willing to move don't appear to be a top priority right now. There are other things that are coming before them, before they get to them. Now, this whole Ketel Marte situation is certainly holding up a lot of things around the league, including the Brendan Donovan trade situation. Marte is on what I consider at least a team-friendly deal over the next 6 years, considering how prices continue to go up, especially for somebody who's produced the way he has. He's been unbelievable. He is 32, though. So many teams may be proceeding with caution when it comes to what they're willing to give up to get him. It will be interesting for the Cardinals, though, because although they're not going to, get the same return as Arizona will for Marte, it will at least give you an idea about what teams are willing to part with, certain players, certain positions that they have depth at, and then Chaim can use that knowledge to negotiate with teams that don't get Ketel Marte. You've also got the Rays, Brandon Lau out there as well. The Cubs' Nico Horner was brought up recently too, which I was like, what? Like, I'm not trying to tell the Cubs what to do, but I feel like Nico Hoerner is a very underrated guy. And I would not let that dude off my team if I was the Chicago Cubs. But if you want to, by all means, get him out of here. Get him out of here. We'll take him on the Cardinals if you don't want him. Anyway, teams want to cash in. And this is the whole thing, is the teams want to cash in on the demand that is going out there right now at the position, of infield, just like the Cardinals are. They don't have to trade these guys. The Arizona doesn't have to trade Ketel Marte. The Rays don't have to trade Brandon Lau. Cubs don't have to trade Nico Hoerner. But they're going to listen. They're going to listen. Alex Bregman is still out there again, which is certainly holding up any Nolan Arenado movement. And now you've got Willson Contreras' name bouncing around as teams try to figure out what they're going to do at first base this season. When the Alonso talks were ongoing, there were three teams that were constantly mentioned. Okay, I'm sure there were other teams that checked in on him and were like, what do you think? But the three that were brought up over and over and over were the Orioles, who ultimately got him, the Red Sox, and then the Mets. So it only makes sense that now that he is a member of the Baltimore Orioles, that the Mets and the Sox would turn their attention to another right-handed hitting first baseman that, has got some pop and can fill that void. And that's why they would turn to the Cardinals and Willson Contreras. But both of them are clearly interested in multiple free agents other than just dealing with whatever they're dealing with over at first base. So I would think it's going to push those talks about Contreras on the back burner, at least for a little bit. There was an article about the Red Sox in particular from a guy by the name of, I don't know him, but Manny Randawa. It was at MLB.com, and he was talking about different options that the Red Sox had after missing out on Schwarber and on Alonso, and Contreras was nowhere to be found in that article. He brought up bringing Bregman back. He talked about free agents Bo Bichette and Eugenio Suarez, Marte from Arizona, obviously, Kazuma Okamoto from Japan, brought him up as well. Nothing about Willson Contreras, which just, in my opinion, shows you where he is on the totem pole as far as guys they need to acquire right now. Kind of gives you an idea of that pecking order of things at this point. It's exciting that the Mets and Boston want Willie, but I'm not expecting a move to be made until they've exhausted their chances in other areas first. But that's just my expectation. I could be completely wrong. If I am wrong and something happens sooner rather than later, before the end of the year, then cool. I'm glad that we'll get some closure on stuff like this. But I'm fully prepared for this to drag out a little bit, though, and I think you should be too. And again, if it doesn't and it gets done and they find a resolution to all of this quicker, cool. Then I'll be more than happy to say, hey, I was wrong, and good for you guys getting the job done. But I'm just saying that's my expectation right now. Derek Gould from the Post-Dispatch added some thoughts on things the Cardinals are trying to add specifically to the bullpen. So I want to share my thoughts on that with you, plus Chaim Bloom's comments about the development or lack thereof for Ivan Herrera as a catcher while he was coming up in the system. We'll get to all of that coming up on Locked On Cardinals. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994, and with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive, you guys. This is going to be a huge event for the United States, but let's be honest, trying to get tickets to something like that probably feels like it's going to be really, really hard, but that's why the Game Time app is there. It is clutch. It will finally give you, the fan, a real advantage when it comes to snagging the seats. With Game Time, you're allowed to track the price drops in real time. Very simple. You get alerts. It pops on your phone and goes, hey, check us out. Great seats just opened up. And then you can buy the tickets the moment they hit the app. It just puts the power back in your hands where it belongs and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of feeling impossible. You pull up the app. The layout is super simple. You scroll through the matchups that you care about, compare the seat views. You get to see the seat view, which is so awesome. You pick a game, you tap a section, get your tickets locked in within minutes. No confusion, no hunting for fine print, no added fees. All the fees are up front, which I love. No last second surprises at checkout. Alerts for teams and matches. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match and every concert and every event. Game Time's got you covered, guys. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game Time. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen of the day. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. You can join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Cardinals with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. If you want to go that route, go to lockedonstlcardinals.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. Now, with all the talking about trading guys away, I know that's been dominating the headlines for the Cardinals, and for good reason, because there's big names that the Cardinals have been looking to shop. They've already traded one of them in Sonny Gray, but it feels like, when you just hear this over and over and over, that all they're doing is subtracting players in payroll, which isn't necessarily the case. I mean, they are doing that. I mean, you still have to field a 26-man roster, though, so you still have to bring some bodies back in at some point to fill the spots that you have traded away. And if they decide to make a move on, Nato eventually, or Willson Contreras, or Lars Nootbaar, or any of these guys that, had starting positions with the Cardinals, you got to refill that spot. Somebody's got to play there. And we've heard Chaim Bloom say repeatedly that although they have a long-term goal and they want to achieve that, and that's their main focus, they're not tanking. They're not just getting rid of everybody. This isn't a, fire sale where everybody has to go. It doesn't matter how young you are, how old, like everybody got to go. That's not the case. The plan is to continue to compete, according to them, but to get back to the top of the mountain, they do have to do things a little bit differently. And because of that, these high-priced veterans like Willie and Nato might be better served playing elsewhere. They would prefer that. Go someplace that is more of a win-now mode than where the Cardinals are at this point. Willie has said that he's more than happy to stick around, but he would waive the no-trade clause if, something pops up that makes sense for him and his family. Guys like Brendan Donovan and JoJo Romero, Newt, Alec Burleson, it's more about taking advantage of the market demand than anything else. It never hurts to listen on guys. Maybe you find a desperate GM that's willing to give you a crazy amount of stuff for someone. You just don't know. If there's one phrase that I will always remember from the John Mozeliak era, it's that nobody is ever truly untradeable. Clearly, certain guys, it would take an astronomical amount to get them, but nobody is ever untradeable, right? You can figure something out there where there's a value that comes back to you where you're like, I can't say no to that. But the Cardinals, if they do move some of these guys, will have to find replacements for them. And that brings me to what Derek Gould was saying in his article, which is linked in the description of the show notes for you to check out if you want to, about trading JoJo Romero away, a move that, has been getting, at least in my eyes, I've been noticing it, considerable pushback from the fan base because, he's good, just like Willie and Donnie. These guys have been good in a Cardinals uniform. So fans are more reluctant to see them go. Same thing with Sonny. I don't think a lot of people are like, get him out of here. This dude is garbage. That's not how people were reacting to it. They were like, why are we getting rid of our best pitcher? We need pitching, don't we? Don't we? Isn't that the idea? It's different. Fans weren't clamoring for them to get rid of these guys the way they are for, say a Miles Michaelis or Steven Matz at one point, Eric Fetty, even young guys like Gorman and Walker. You'll see them in the comments section. They're like, he's not good. They're trash. Get him out of here. The guys that perform well, they don't want to get rid of them. Fans want you to add pieces around those guys, not get rid of them. So that brings me to what Gould had to say in his article. Again, it's in the comment section and stuff, and in the info below. A twist in the reshuffling of the roster for the Cardinals. They want to achieve this winter is how the pitcher roles they're willing to trade are also the ones they seek to add. As they consider offers from several teams for lefty reliever JoJo Romero, the Cardinals are exploring the free agent market for a veteran reliever, possibly a lefty, to add to the bullpen for the coming summer. The Cardinals want to add a seasoned reliever in the mold of Phil Maton or Andrew Kittredge to the roster, and that's the strategy. Deal when the offer is right and backfill with short-term options from the open market. Now, the top guys have already been swooped up in the reliever market. Diaz officially to the Dodgers. Robert Suarez went to the Braves, who had already signed Iglesias, so they got two solid, I would say above solid guys that they back into their bullpen for the foreseeable future. Helsley went to Baltimore. Devin Williams went to the Mets. Finnegan went back to Detroit. The Reds re-signed Emilio Pagan, who was solid for them. The Cubs grabbed Hobie Milner, who was a lefty, along with Phil Maton. The Pirates got the lefty Gregory Soto. Steven Matz went to Tampa Bay. But there are still some good options out there. My personal favorite, and I continue to wonder if this is the guy the Cardinals will target, just because it feels like a very Cardinal move, is St. Louis native Danny Coulombe. The St. Louis connection obviously does not hurt. That is very cool if they were to get him. Coulombe is 36 years old. All right. So seasoned veteran, matches that. Since 2022, he has averaged almost 68 appearances per season with a 2.38 ERA and an ERA plus of 171. I don't know what's not to like about that. Things didn't go as smoothly in Texas at the end of last year after his trade from the Minnesota Twins. But, I mean, does that not scream a St. Louis Cardinal type of guy right there from the area? Left-hander, 36 years old, obviously is somebody that has a spot in the major leagues, that deserves to be pitching somewhere. Maybe he hasn't gotten the deal he wants and, would like to pitch in his home state of Missouri and for St. Louis. I don't know, but it sounds like a Cardinal move for sure. So Danny Coulombe, put him on the list. He's somebody I'm interested in. Sean Newcomb is another lefty that was good last year with the A's and Red Sox. He's in his early 30s, but still very good. Might be priced out of the Cardinals range. Drew Pomeranz. There's a seasoned veteran for you. Excellent last year with the Cubs. Cardinals saw him 5 different times last year while he was with Chicago. Dealt with those injuries and bouncing around teams between 2022 and last season. Was very good with the Padres before the injury started. Comes back last year, finally to the major leagues. Excellent season. Andrew Chafin. Strong season with Washington and the Angels. Mid-30s. ERA plus 177. Screams Cardinals to me. So those are a couple of the names that personally I think they should be interested in from the left side. Still a good number of righties out there. Kenley Jansen, Luke Weaver, Pete Fairbanks, Kirby Yates, Brad Keller, Sir Anthony Dominguez, Tyler and Taylor Rogers. Bring them both. I don't know if the Twins have ever played on the same team at the same time. I don't remember. I think they did that in the Giants. Did they do that in San Francisco? I think, but they're Twins. Sure, bring them both then. Why not? Those guys are still there. The Cardinals have already grabbed a couple of righties for depth. Matt Pushard in the Rule 5 draft from Miami. Zach Kent from waivers from Cleveland. Scott Blewett, he's here on a minor league deal now. Doesn't mean they can't add to the right side, but they've got a nice stable of right-handed relievers already. I think the left-hand side is the one that they really need to focus on, and I think that'll get some attention a little bit later on, especially if JoJo is gone. They end up trading JoJo Romero. Again, you don't have anybody else. There are no lefties left. You are just chalk out of left-handers that have any major league experience, really. Nick Raquette, come on. You can do better than that, right? So that's just where I think their focus will be. Any other names you guys can think of that the team might be interested or should be interested that I'm forgetting, let me know. A lot of the real expensive guys are already off the market, so we're starting to get down into the Cardinal shopping level. So maybe we'll see something happen sooner rather than later. But let me know in the comments who you think that they should bring in and put the birds on the bat on their chest. Up next, did the Cardinals screw up Ivan Herrera's catching development? Interesting thoughts from Chaim Bloom on that situation. This is Locked On Cardinals. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different, and that's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game anymore, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets on the action as it unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, when things start to move around a little bit, a certain player gets hot, maybe you get the defense tightening up and gets a big turnover, momentum flips, and all of a sudden, boom, excitement is going on. And FanDuel lets you jump right into the moment with the live spreads and money lines adjusting instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. Next touchdown scored, drive results, totals. Keeps you in every snap, every drive, every possibility. Thursday Night Football last night. What a game for Kyle Pitts. Holy cow. Bijan Robinson went off, which was great for my fantasy, but Kyle Pitts went crazy last night. So if you were able to get in on the live bets there with FanDuel, you probably made out all right if you were betting on Kyle Pitts. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com. Place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel. The game moves fast, and so can you. Did Locked On Cardinals make your Spotify Wrapped? If so, let us know. Prove it on social media to secure a free month of our brand new Everydayer Club. Just tag our national Locked On Podcast Network account on any social platform, and we'll drop you a code. Be one of the first to join the Everydayer Club to get your favorite show ad-free and exclusive access to the members-only Discord channel. So Everydayers know that I'm a big fan of Ivan Herrera, specifically his bat and his pants, because, I don't know, that sounds really weird, but I bought a pair of his game-issued, not used, but game-issued pants online as part of the collection of memorabilia that I got. That's how much I believe in Ivan Herrera. I saw him at a cheap price. They were only like $40, and I was like, I feel like I got to pull the trigger. Went out with some beers with the friends, and I was like, should I buy these? You guys think so? And overwhelming yes, buy that man's pants. So that's why I have a pair of Ivan Herrera's pants. But tremendous hitter for this team for years to come is what I think he can be. The defense hasn't quite seemed major league worthy behind the plate in the short time that he's been up with the team. And maybe it's not his fault. Maybe it's not so much that Ivan isn't that good behind the plate. It's that the Cardinals were really, really bad at teaching him. Chaim Bloom was speaking with the media at the winter meetings and said this about Herrera's development in the Cardinals system. I don't think, when you look at the entirety of his career, I'm not sure he was ever really set up for success at that position because of a number of factors. And that's not a negative or taking shots at anybody. Some of it's just about the state of the organization, what else is available at the position internally where you might not get that fair shot, and yet you're being asked to perform in the big leagues, so you're not in a pure teaching environment. Now, he says that was, not a shot at anybody. And he's not being, personally saying, this is the guy that screwed this up. And this is why Ivan Herrera did not become as good as he needed to be behind the plate. But obviously that falls on the shoulders of former president of baseball operations, John Mozeliak. And it's well known that the Cardinals didn't have nearly enough instructors and enough funds going towards the minor league level the last few years to help develop their talent. And one of their glaring spots was catcher, where they didn't have anyone specifically teaching catchers. They just didn't have catching instructors. They just didn't do it. Clearly, things have changed. The last couple of years, there's been significant improvement in trying to make things better at the minor league level and in their player development. Part of Chaim coming in and evaluating things. And I'm sure one of the many spots he brought up was like, why the hell don't you have people teaching your catchers or other things in the minors? Like, you guys need this attention to detail. And you say it out loud, it seems preposterous to think about that they didn't think it was necessary to have such things. And maybe they did. Maybe they did, and they just didn't want to pay for it. Now, any of the minor leaguers that I've talked to in the last couple seasons since these changes have been happening, and when I bring up, what are some of the noticeable differences that you've seen since, coming into the Cardinals organization? And more times than not, it's about they have more instructors. There's just more people helping them now, more attention, more help to make them better players so that they can reach their ultimate goal, that they can have a better chance of success and get them to the major leagues. But it's just more information about how crappy things were in the Cardinals minor league system and how the Cardinals were cutting so many corners for whatever reason, whether it was just money and they didn't want to pay for it, that they were putting funds into different spots and they didn't have the budget for this, or they were just dumb and didn't think they needed these extra guys, which if that's the case, then shame on you. Does this also maybe shed some light on why guys like Dylan Carlson and Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman, guys with big futures that, the national media like MLB Pipeline and stuff felt were like, these are like really good prospects and they should flourish and become superstars for the Cardinals, and have never lived up to it. Jordan Walker and Gorman still have time. Carlson, his time has passed. I don't know where Dylan Carlson is right now. Is he a free agent? Is he in somebody's minor leagues? Is he with Baltimore stuff? I don't know. But it just never got there. He came up to the pros, had the one solid year, injuries, and then fell apart. Jordan Walker comes up, solid beginning, has dealt with some injuries now. We hope that we can adjust his path a little bit. Same with Nolan Gorman. Nolan Gorman came up, one big season. Things have gone the wrong way ever since. I hope they can turn it around for these guys. I really do. But one thing is for certain, the organization's not doing this anymore. They aren't doing that anymore where they're just ignoring the amount of attention that these guys need, and that's a good thing. Can only be a good thing for this organization moving forward. Herrera is going to get a chance to catch again this year. Obviously he had surgery this year, so they got to, make sure he's cool and back to, can't catch if you can't throw the ball. So we got to make sure he's cool there first. Maybe it works out. Maybe it doesn't. But we know the dude can hit, so they're going to find a spot for him. But what's nice is that the young catchers in this organization that are supremely talented already and have been recognized for it, the Rainier Rodriguez, Leonardo Bernal, people have been recognized nationally that these guys look like they can be studs. They are getting this attention now, which is great. The attention can only help them get to the big leagues faster, and hopefully they'll be better prepared for it when they get to St. Louis. So thoughts and comments on that, let me know down below. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, give us a follow on X at @LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio, TikTok, Instagram at Locked On Cardinals. Like, subscribe on YouTube, help our channel and love for the Cardinals grow. Now, for those of you who are on the video side of things, we are going to send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. If you're on audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On MLB. You're the best fans in baseball for a reason. We'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals. Have a great weekend.